Hey y'all, welcome to the Gone Outdoors podcast. Thanks for joining us. This is the place where we talk about all things hunting and fishing. As we like to say, if it's going on out there, then we're talking about it right here. So let's get after it with the latest episode.
This is Daryl Kirby with GON. This week I am talking to a good friend of mine, Scott Hodges. He's a taxidermist down in Peach County. And Scott's one of those guys I met through GON. My wife likes to laugh every time I'm driving through a small town in Georgia. I can mention somebody who I've run across through the magazine and have gotten to know. Scott's one of those people who became a good friend through our relationship here with GON. Scott, have we got you?
Yeah, man, I'm here.
Awesome. So tell the folks a little bit about how you got into a full-time job in the outdoor industry as a taxidermist. Did you grow up hunting and fishing, or how did that come about?
As long as I can remember, I've enjoyed hunting and fishing and spending time with my dad, and man, I just love it. I grew up doing it, and matter of fact, when I would get in trouble as a kid or make bad grades on my report card, my restriction was not being able to go hunting. So yeah, I've been at it for a while.
So did you grow up in that area, Middle Georgia, and what types of hunting did you do as a kid?
Well, yep, I grew up right here in Byron, lived here my whole life. But my dad was from Sandersville, and we were in a club down there in Washington County, and man, I couldn't wait. We'd sometimes get out of school a little early and head down Highway 57 and go stay at the hunting club all weekend. It was just the highlight of my growing up. I think if you hadn't put it like that, I think even now looking back, I still enjoy going hunting, and I enjoy killing deer. But man, just being around everybody else and hanging out in the club was just it was about half of the whole experience.
So tell me a little bit about how you got involved with GON. So what was the first? You do a little bit of everything for us now. I mean, you've done some writing. You're involved in our outdoor blast. But tell us about that first GON experience.
Well, I guess it would be. I worked at a taxidermy shop in Centerville with a good friend of mine, Joey Rye, who was pretty much. I had a brother who was a younger brother, but Joey was about 10 years older than me, so he was like my older brother. And he lived down on Mossy Lake in Houston County, and we hung out a lot. And every weekend we'd go down to his house and we'd play volleyball at his house. And his next door neighbor was Les Ager, who is a retired fisheries biologist. And Les was, man, I guess to say he's somebody in the outdoor industry, and he knew lots of people. And I remember we at the times when the Buckarama would be in town, Harold Knight would come and we played volleyball. I can't know if y'all can imagine Harold Knight playing volleyball, but anyway, we did. We had a good time, and so Les and Steve Birch were big buddies, and when it got time for them to, or y'all, I should say, for GON to do the truck buck shootout, it was a big deal. I think me and you've talked about it. It might not have been the very first one, but it was the first time where it was like a big ordeal, I guess, and a big on display in front of a lot of people, and they were worried about safety and whatnot. So anyway, Les says, "Hey, I need 100 bales of hay." I said, "Okay." I said, "For what?" And he said, "Well, we're going to do this truck buck shootout thing at the Buckarama in Perry." I said, "Okay." So I called a friend of mine, and I got 100 bales of hay and delivered them down there, and they had the shootout. It was a big deal. It was a great old big crazy backdrop, and
it was a wall of hay.
Oh, it was a wall of hay. Yep, man. And then Sunday when it was all over, Bert says he had already wrote me a check for the hay. He says, "You can have your hay back." I said, "Okay." So I ended up taking it back to the guy I got it from. But I guess in a nutshell, that's how I got to meet Steve anyway. And man, just over the years, I met you and Brad and lots of people that have worked there. And I remember, I guess a few years after that, y'all had a TV show and had the grand idea to give away a new muzzle loader and a deer hunt on Tuckahoe WMA. And Bert's called me again. He says, "Hey," he says, "you want to go camping?" I said, "I guess." He said, "Well, you want to cook while you camping?" I said, I guess so. So I guess, how many people was it? Probably 5 or 6. I think
we had 5 or 6 hunters, and then from GON it was me and Brad Gill and James Guthrie, better known as Jay Guthrie or just Guthrie, and we were videoing these guys, and so Scott Hodges was the camp cook. and general entertainment for the hunters and GON.
Probably Guthrie more so than me, but wow, it's crazy because I showed up and let's see, I had what I have. I'm not sure if I had the gin or not. I was going to camp, but I had my grill and all the food. Anyway, Guthrie says, "Hey, I got a tent. If you got an air mattress," I said, "Man, I got it." So either way, so that's how me and Guthrie got hooked up. And man, just a genuine good guy. Just a long friendship we had, and I got to meet you and Brad and Joe. What was Joe's last name? Joe Schlitt.
Joe Schlitt. Yeah, Joe Schlitt. He worked on our TV show. He was the TV guru when we had our show, and I'm on Outdoor Channel for a couple of years and a bunch of local stations in Georgia. But yeah, that Tuckahoe trip was it was one of my favorites. I mean, we had a good time.
Fun.
Just a great group and a great weekend, and one of those neat things that we've done over the years at GON. But Brad Gill and I still talk about our favorite meal. If you remember what that was.
Well, it'd probably be the grilled cheese.
That would be the grilled cheese.
Y'all made me famous on national TV by putting me walking across the parking lot in my green lacrosse rubber boots and Liberty overalls and cooking y'all a grilled cheese sandwich.
Well, tell me, we've got to talk about Guthrie. We mentioned him from that Tuckahoe trip. So Guthrie, we hired him here at GON. It may have been his second job. I think he worked at a newspaper up in North Georgia somewhere and then came to work at GON. He was still young and green, but man, what a guy. Super rider, super guy.
Wow.
And,
super guy. He could fit in anywhere. I tell people when I describe him now, I said, man, he could fit in at a NASCAR race and know everything about it, or a doctor's convention. He just never met a stranger. He's just an incredible guy. I miss him every day.
Yeah. So he passed away. I think James was 36, 37 years old.
Wow.
And,
man, just totally unexpected.
Yeah, unexpected, and we do miss him every day. But great memories of Guthrie for sure. So I mentioned you do a lot for GON. I think a lot of folks might recognize you if they go to the Outdoor Blast, the hunting show that we put on every year. Hodges is the deer wall guy. So if you've gone by the deer wall, you've probably seen Scott, especially those years when he was sporting the Mohawk.
I don't know if we need to talk about that or not.
What was up with the Mohawk?
Well, man, I'm fixing to be 49 years old. When I was in high school, that was in I graduated in '89, so it was like the end of the long hair era. And I remember I was taking a welding class, and my shop teacher had a flat top, and we used to give him a hard time about it. And he said, "Man," I'm telling y'all," he said, "it won't be long. Y'all be ready to get this long hair, and y'all have you a flat top." And I said, "Man, whatever, Anyway, so I graduate, and I whenever I turned 18, guess what kind of haircut? I got a flat top. So I had a flat top for, 20-something years, I guess. And then my brother turned 40. And on his 40th birthday, we all went to St. Simon's. And the gal that he had a mohawk. So anyway, it was almost a joke. So at his 40th birthday party, the gal that cuts his hair, we were all at St. Simon's, and I went from a inch tall flat top to a inch tall mohawk, and then it just kind of stuck, and it was a conversation piece. And I remember we had a friend of mine had a Sporting Clays event for breast cancer awareness, and here I am sporting about a 5-inch mohawk, and I had it dyed pink, and it was a good time, just conversation. Then I kind of grew. I tell you honestly, I wore a hat more the couple of years that I had a mohawk than I did any other time in my life, and it got to be aggravating, and it was a pain in the butt. And I know how women that feel now when they say they have a bad hair day, because it was aggravating. So I got rid of the mohawk and went back to an old flat top. So that's kind of where I'm at now in my life. So, but yeah, getting to the deer wall, man. I appreciate y'all trusting me enough to. I was president of the Taxidermy Association, the Georgia Taxidermy Association, for a couple of years, and man, we put on a show every year, nothing compared to the Blast. Just pretty much just taxidermists get together and we have a competition and seminars and just to get together pretty much and discuss things and learn. And so I remember going back to Guthrie, actually. He when he left GON, he went to work for QDMA, and they had a taxidermy show in conjunction with one of their QDMA shows in Athens. And he asked me, would I be interested in coming out there and setting up the wall pegboards for them to hang deer on and that kind of thing. And so anyway, that kind of bled over. Burks called me and said, hey, we're going to have this show, this outdoor show. I said, okay. What you need me to do? He said, I need you to come up here and put a booth. So when's the first year y'all had the Blast?
Man, I can't even remember.
It
was
10, 11 years ago, I think.
Yeah, first one was in Macon, where we started down there. And
I know it was 11 years ago because I was in the process of building my house. And
yeah, that's right.
He says, hey, I need you to come show and put a display up. I said, well, I can't because I'm right in the middle of building my house. And he says, I tell you what, you come there and put a display up. He said, I'll come down there and help you a weekend on your house. So I smoked that over with my wife, and she's like, well, you enjoy that kind of stuff. So anyway, I guess that was the start of how that all happened. And then I do take care of things, and I take pride in I know people have got to be overly trusting to let me, when they walk up to the curtain there and say, here's my 150-inch deer, and so I take pride in taking care of it and make sure everything's like it ought to be and make them look the best I can. And it's I enjoy it. It's a good time for me. It kind of goes back to my whole deal I was talking about when I used to go to the hunting club. Man, I enjoy meeting people. I enjoy hanging out with people with like interest. And man, there's no better place to meet people with like interest than an outdoor show. It's just it's a good deal. I appreciate y'all putting it on, and I know a lot of people do. It's I hope it continues to do well and grow, and I'll be helping you till you get rid of me. How about that?
I don't think that's going to happen. Well, we like I said, we couldn't do it without you, and that's got to be the most popular thing at the show. People like to see the biggest deer from last year, and then one thing we added this year was Duncan Dobie put together a little display with Georgia's greatest whitetails, and that's going to be a kind of a revolving thing where each year we bring some of the most famous bucks from the history of Georgia hunting, and then combine that with last season's best deer. So really a neat thing. And again, the deer wall, it ought to be called the Scott Hodges deer wall.
Well, not really. I have a lot of help, So,
yeah.
but and man, the scoring deal is cool too. I enjoy hanging out with Mr. Bill and the scorers all weekend, and man, we talk and tell stories, and it's amazing how many people come up and they drop the deer off, and I'm filling out the tag, and I said, well, they have to put on there where they killed it and when and what they killed it with, and man, a lot of them put on there a bow kill, and I'm like, ooh, this one might make it, So I try not to say much because I want to get them all excited, but it's amazing how many Pope and Youngs that just pop up that people really didn't know just by bringing their deer up there and having them scored.
Right.
I know like 2 or 3 this year that made it, and
then typically you'll get a good hunt story while you're sitting there too, right?
Yep. Man, I get a lot of those. That's kind of like being in a taxidermy shop. If I had to add on for all the for the stories I get told as far as my time, it'd probably be $1,000 amount of deer.
Right. Well, tell me about this year. I know I've shot birds with you before. You've always got some good shoots going on down there in Peach County, Middle Georgia. So how was opening day, and what was the bird situation looking like this year?
Well, so I am really, really fortunate where I live. I grew up with some people that have farms, and I know I've paid $100 to go shoot birds on opening day, and it hurts my feelings to do that, especially when I don't have the opportunity to kill a bird. So we're pretty fortunate to have really good friends and some family this way that put on bird shoots, and how to put this. So if you go take 40 acres and you plant it and cultivate it and fertilize it and water it and baby it and say sunflowers, whatever, and then you mow it all down, you've got an astronomical amount of money in preparing a bird field. And so what we have here is just byproduct of cornfields and whatnot. It's not necessarily, it's not planted specifically for birds. But man, we usually, we have a good time. We have 40, 50 folks opening day, and we have barbecue and brother stew, and everybody brings a little something, and we just have a good time. There's going to be somebody kill a limit, and somebody might not get to pull the trigger. It just kind of depends. But we actually Daryl Gates came hunting with me a couple times this year. Another friend of mine's got a little millet patch, and we killed some birds, and I think he actually, on the back page of the October issue of the magazine, put a little story in there about my buddy who owns the place. He's got an airplane, and he's always looking for a story.
That's right. So
anyway.
The listeners don't know, Daryl Gates writes the back page. He's the kind of the little humor column that's in the in every GON each month. And like Scott said, you've got to be careful what you say or do around him, because you're going to show up on that back page.
Yes, sir. So, he's put me in there a time or two.
Yeah.
Oh.
He's a funny guy.
That's he's another good friend I've met through the magazine, man. I just everybody up there, y'all are overly nice, and man, I can't thank y'all enough for I know I do a few things for y'all, but man, it's really not about that as much as it is just being friends. I can call any of y'all anytime I need something, and you're there for me. And man, nowadays good friends are hard to come by. If everybody was more like that, we'd have a better place, I guess. So.
That's exactly right. I hear you, buddy. So tell me about deer hunt so far. Y'all seeing, we're right now, as Scott and I talk, we're a few days away from primitive weapons and the youth season. So we've gone through most of archery. Have you seen some pretty good ones down there at the shop? Man,
it's, I have. So bow season is, as far as the taxidermy point of view goes, I don't get a whole lot of deer in during bow season because there are a lot of people deer hunting, bow hunting, but there's not, and there's a lot of people killing deer, but there's not a lot of people killing good deer that they want to mount. But man, it's just looking, and I mean, you talked about this before, just Facebook, man. Things you didn't hear about before. Right now, golly, you just get on Facebook and it's just picture after picture after picture of just great deer. And and I'm sure it's been like that in the past, but I don't see them locally like that until 1st of November to the start of the rut. And
right.
But actually, a buddy of mine who lives in Louisiana, I go red fishing with him and duck hunting with him. He comes up and goes deer hunting. So he came up opening week, and the first evening he went hunting. Let's see. He drove himself over and kind of walked to he set up a ground blind on the edge of a bean field. And anyway, I'm waiting around. It's sunset. You know, he's only about 2 miles from the house here, and I don't hear anything. Then all of a sudden, right at dark, he texts me. He said, man, there's a monster out here in the field. He said, I might be a while. I said, well, just hang tight and I'll come get you, you know. So deer are used to seeing trucks and tractors and whatnot. So I got in the truck and rode over there and picked him up. I didn't see the deer, but he said it ran off, you know, when I come around the corner anyway. So I picked him up. He was all excited, man. I mean, he was pumped up, and I was, well, it must be a good one. And so long story short, he saw the deer 4 different times, and he saw him 3 days in a row, missed a day, and the 4th time he saw him, he had moved close. Actually, the deer was coming to a water hole. It's been so dry.
Yeah.
You know, there were deer all out in the beans, but when the irrigation comes around, they turn the end gun off when it gets to the trees, and it was just steady draining water. And, man, right there was a pretty good hole where tractors had wore a rut out, and that deer was coming to water every day. Anyway, he ended up killing him, and, man, he was excited. And we were all excited. I went over there and got him, and I green scored him gross at like 152. He's not going to net. He's kind of he's not necessarily non-typical. He just got a bunch of extra stuff. He's going to net pretty close to 130. But, man, that's a tremendous deer for man, anywhere. You know, people, not to go on and ramble here, but people just almost have a false expectation. You know, you see all these giant 180, 90-inch deer that, like Lee Ellis, you know, them guys, man, they kill some whopper deer. And it's amazing to me, just like the deer wall. There's a 150-inch deer out there and there's a score underneath it, and people are like, man, what that score, 170? Well, no, you know.
Right.
It takes a really, really big deer to make 150. So a 130-inch deer is big. And anyway, another friend of mine, Matt Barecki, killed a good deer the other day. Actually, the first time he went hunting this year, and it's been so hot. And we had that little cool morning, 2 days ago, and first set, he goes sitting on the edge of a cotton field and a water hole. There goes your common denominator again. He was sitting by old beaver pond, and or irrigation pond that the beavers had dammed up the back end of it. But it's all like 7 or 8 deer, end up killing a doggone good 10-pointer. So yeah, it's just been pretty good. So I'm hopefully looking forward to next Saturday. I got a 10-year-old little boy, and he killed his first deer last year, and he's been down here shooting about every afternoon, getting ready. And same place my buddy from Louisiana killed a deer. He's got he left his camera. He's got one of those new cell phone cameras, and he left it out. And there's probably 6 or 7 other smaller bucks coming in there, and I got one that's every afternoon he's coming. So maybe my little boy will end up killing him more.
I hope Ross does. So,
man, I do too.
Tell me a little bit about your business. So you've been a taxidermist for pretty much your whole life. What's the name of your shop down there?
Yeah, pretty much my whole life. My shop name is Southern Reflections Taxidermy. Let's see, I was 16 years old when I started working at the shop there in Centerville, and I think I had initially, when I was in school, I wanted to. I thought I wanted to be a game warden or a biologist. I said, man, I'm gonna go to ABAC and give me a outdoor profession, you know, and enjoy things and this and that. Anyway, I was probably 14, and I killed a couple quail one afternoon. I said, let me try to skin these things out. So I did, and then I'm pretty sure my dad got me hooked up over at Artistic Centerville. He said, you want a job? I said, sure. I think my very first job was working at a peach packing shed, and that was a seasonal deal, and it was hot, and I hated it anyway. But anyway, I got a job at over there in Centerville, and for the first deer season, I did nothing but skin stuff all day, every day. I get out of school, I was on a little DCT program at school, and man, I skinned deer till I was tired of skinning deer, and coyotes and foxes and bobcats. And anyway, as time progressed, people would leave, and I'd learn new things. And I left there in '93 and went to work for a guy up in Macon, and then that lasted till '96. I got married. I started my business. My wife started her business. She's a dance teacher, and it's just kind of been right here ever since for 23 years now. So,
well, if folks want to bring you a critter, I know just from being in your shop, I know everything you do is great, but I think one of your specialties is ducks, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
If folks want to bring you something, how do they find you, Scott?
Well, man, everybody, I'm not a very high tech redneck, so I don't have a website. Kind of pretty much word of mouth. I do have a Facebook page. I can look up Southern Reflection Taxidermy on Facebook, and it's got my phone number and all that good stuff there. I stay pretty busy. Matter of fact, on the 23rd of December, 2017, I was headed to a Christmas party with a buddy of mine and his wife, and we're going down Highway 42 going to Roberta, and we hit a cow. Like, I'm not talking about a 200-pound cow. I'm talking about like a 1,600-pound grown cow. And so anyway, long story short, I broke my neck and messed up a lot of things, and I ended up not working for about 6 months. And so I am a little more behind than I normally am. I guess some people call it job security. I'd much rather have everything on the wall. But anyway, I'm very fortunate and blessed, number one, for after that wreck to even be alive and walking and be able to use my hands. And but I'm also very fortunate and blessed that people trust me with their stuff. And even though it takes me a while sometimes, I hope that they're all overly satisfied with the product I give them. And I do. It's from a taxidermist point of view. I remember that's probably been 4 or 5 years ago. I went and I mounted probably 5 or 6 ducks on one piece of wood, and it was real big. And I went to the guy's house and delivered it. And when I walked in, I guess you call it his trophy room, he had a bunch of stuff in there. But man, there were things that I had mounted, 10, 12, 15 years ago, and there was a bunch of stuff in there, and it made me feel really good and proud that the things that I had done still looked as good as they did, and that, it's good to make an impact on somebody, I guess, is what I'm getting at. And, man, I love it when kids kill their first deer or shoot their first duck or man, it's just, it's good stuff. It's just good stuff.
Yeah. You're good at what you do, Scott. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. You're a good friend. You're a good friend to me personally, and also to everybody here at GON and just to the sportsmen of Georgia. We'll be talking to you soon, man.
Daryl, I appreciate your call, and man, y'all, I can't thank y'all enough for what y'all do for me, and I look forward to many more years of hanging out and having a good time.
Yeah, Adventures with Scott Hodges. Thank you, buddy.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
Hey, y'all. Got a question for the GON crew? Whether it's about hunting, fishing, or just life, we want to hear from you. Call 678-729-7366 and leave us a message. Your question may be on a future podcast, but we'll do our best to give you the answer. As always, we appreciate you reading GON Magazine and listening to the Gone Outdoors podcast. Find all the podcasts and a ton more about the outdoors on GON.com. Until next time, y'all stay well.